Hello and welcome to Real Watchers Movie Club. My name is Garrett.
And I'm Kevin.
And we are your hosts. Movie Club is the show where we pick a movie every week and discuss it just like a book club. On today's show, we are continuing our June month-long theme of films that won Best Picture at the Venice Film Festival. And our film this week is the drama Nomadland. Our thoughts and more coming up on Movie Club. Released in 2020, Nomadland was directed by Chloe Zhao and stars Frances McDormand, David Strathairn, and Linda May. A woman in her 60s embarks on a journey through the western United States after losing everything in the Great Recession, living as a van-dwelling modern-day nomad. The film currently has a 3.8 out of 5 on Letterboxd. It was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, including Best Cinematography, Best Editing, and Best Adapted Screenplay. It won 6 for Best Actress for Frances McDormand, Best Director, and Best Picture. Before we dive in, though, we want to go ahead and issue a spoiler warning. We do want to make sure that you watch this movie first if you're interested in seeing it, because we don't want to ruin anything for you that may come up over the course of the movie. But stay tuned to find out what movie we're covering next week, because it'll be the last film of the Venice Film Festival theme. So, Kevin, Nomadland was your pick. What made you pick it among all the other Venice Film Festival winners?
I know during COVID and stuff like that, which was 6 years ago, which is crazy to even think about. It was very talked about during the COVID times and how beautiful and immaculate it was. So, and that was before I got into all of this movie stuff. So I wanted to see what everything was about.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely had heard of it because this was back when I was starting to get back into watching the Oscars every year, and this was obviously the big year when it was just after COVID, so they were able to actually do the event, but it was very different. And this was the film that won that year, and so just had been a while since I had actually had the ability to watch it, so now we had a chance to. So. Nice. But since it was your pick this week, Kevin, why don't you go ahead and start us off? What were your initial thoughts kind of walking out of it, and let's stay, I guess, spoiler free for now.
Yeah, so spoiler free. I had no clue what this movie was about. I just remember it getting a lot of award recommendations and stuff. So watching it for the first time, it was interesting in the way as than I thought I would have thought it be interesting, if that makes any sense. I really was fascinated with the nomad life and how difficult it is, but how people adapt to it and actually can find a family with it. And that's what interested me the most about this movie.
Gotcha. I kind of had known about what it was, and I didn't know that it dealt with things about like the Great Recession. I thought it was just like, someone who chose the nomad life instead of being kind of, not forced into it, but we'll dive into that a little bit as we get in. But I'm curious because I think I kind of had a little peek at your score for the film, and I think we were both walked away from this a little less than enthusiastic.
Yes, I don't want to say disappointed, because there are some really good bright spots into this movie, but as a much award season hearsay and verbal appraising for this movie, it just didn't have what it needed to have, like our first 2 couple of movies in this in our list.
Sure. I'm going to just go ahead and say I think this is probably the most disappointing movie I've seen as a part of Movie Club yet. And I mean, I'd have to go back and look at scores we've given for stuff, but this might be the worst one.
I think this is the worst that both of us have given a
and it's not necessarily that it's a bad movie. I think it does some things really well, and we'll talk about those. But let's go ahead and start positive. I do think that Chloe Zhao definitely deserved the Oscar for Best Director for this. I think that it was it's a very beautifully made movie. It had a very small crew, and it definitely, it has that bit of like a documentary meets art house drama kind of feel to it, and it blends reality and drama in a way that does make it at least a little interesting. And I think she does a great job of composing everything, kind of like some of the shots in this movie are absolutely gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Frances McDormand like clearly cares a lot about this role and the community of people that she was working with in this movie. And I will say, I think that the dialogue is really well constructed. There's some really deep conversations that happen between her and especially her friend when they're talking about how she almost took her own life because of the reception, and her conversation with like the nomad guru guy toward the end of the movie. Like there's some really good dialogue here. That's kind of where my positives kind of end.
I can see that. Yeah.
Like what did you walk away enjoying?
The cinematography is absolutely spectacular with all of these shots of the mountains and just that of her walking into camps and stuff like that was really just enthralling. And I don't know if it's at the end of the movie, but she's walking through the camp, but it has like the trailers on the side, and then she's just walking forward into the sunset. Absolutely gorgeous on that end. I did like a lot of the subjects it deals with in this movie, with like we said, suicide and everything like that. But I also liked how they were talking about how nomads live and how it's more of a family than anything. And I was very interested on that part because of people who sleep in their cars and stuff like that for different circumstances, and this one she wants to be living in the car because she wants to go out and kind of view the world, and seeing that from other perspectives too, not just from our main character, I think was a brilliant idea.
Sure. It kind of makes me want to dive into some of my disappointments with the film. I do think that like I had no idea going into this film dealt with the 2008 recession. I thought that this was just a movie about someone who chose to be nomadic, whether that was after like a tragedy or something. I had no idea that it was actually about a specific time and place. And I do appreciate that the film tries to shine a light on the community that was like I think it's based on a real community of people. But like that it was, like it doesn't do enough in that regard.
I feel like we didn't know the history of Empire, the town, enough to I don't want to say not care, but it was just like, oh, it's a part of the story. But I wanted to kind of know like why it failed in that way.
I wouldn't say it was hard to care. Like they did make it easy to care about some of these characters. But what I mean is like it doesn't go into enough depth on how that crisis affected people. And in some ways, like it just like some of this movie, or maybe not enough of this movie, feels like misery porn. Like this should be showing as much of the bad as possible about what happened. Instead, I think this movie glorifies what happened in a way. I think that, there's a difference between choosing to be nomadic and, I don't want to say glorifying, but that's kind of the only word I can think of, but glorifying homelessness.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, technically she has a home but she's just choosing to travel. But like the movie seems more interested in playing to this community and highlighting them instead of getting to the depth and the diversity of issues that happened as a result of the recession.
Yeah, like, because do we get? I know she chose, well, not really chooses this life because of the 2008 depression, but it was like, why? I didn't understand why she didn't go back, and she kind of flirts with it at the end a little bit, how she doesn't feel comfortable staying in a house and stuff like that. But it didn't really hit me like, oh my gosh, I understand what she went through or felt. It was just like, okay, that's kind of weird, but I kind of get it at the same time.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of grief there because of her husband's passing. But I don't feel like the movie goes into her struggles enough. Like I wanted to see more of that. It could have used less of her floating in a river naked and just taking in nature. Like, I wanted to see more about what led to this happenstance, this situation. And I do think that this movie, the biggest problem with it for me is that it's not like too long, it's not poorly paced or anything, it's just boring. And I don't think that, and again, I don't think that the emotional depth or the personal depth is interesting enough. They didn't do enough with it.
I think it would have been cool if they got an actual person that this happened to and did maybe a documentary on them, and because then it would just be so purified in that way, if that makes sense. It would make me more
documentary shot in this style would have been far more interesting.
Far more interesting, because it's an actual toll on a person instead of a fictional character in some way.
Yeah, and to be fair, a lot of the people in this movie are real nomad people who are,
which is cool,
but they play a fictionalized version of themselves, which is cool, and I do appreciate that. But again, it does not go into enough detail. I want to know more about who they are, why they're there, why it sucks, and shine more of a light on the situations that led to that are happening now again.
And why they don't want to go back to how it used to be.
Yeah, like why? Like it doesn't. The film didn't do enough to justify why a nomadic lifestyle is in any way like intriguing. Like, I walked out of this like I would never do that.
Yeah, like, I would be like,
obviously, that's not a choice for a lot of these people, but the film kind of makes it feel like it is, because of the way, again, that it glorifies it.
Well, it just feels like, it's like, hey, you know, anybody could do this, but it's like, then they start. I really liked the aspect of her getting her van fixed, and that's like the real life situations that would happen, and I wish they would have put more of that into this movie, made it more drama-y or more down to earth a little bit. This feels like a little bit too high up in this when watching this.
I think it also tries to be a little too artsy for its own good sometimes. I think that instead of, like, it could have been grittier, it could not grittier, but like it could have been more level-headed. Like, just keep it, like, again, just a straight up documentary. Like, not like, you can do this kind of drama documentary hybrid where you have real nomads playing a fictional version of themselves. You can do that, but in the main character role, maybe don't hire one of the best actresses, you know, of the last 20 years, who clearly is not really a nomad. Like I don't know, it kind of comes off as disingenuous.
I feel like if they get, I don't want to say like a dirtier person, but a person who has lived a life.
Dirty would be a very wrong thing to say.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, like a very
as someone who actually is nomadic.
Yeah, it would have been perfect, because it would have been like, oh my gosh, they actually went through this, they did that, and it would have been more impactful to me. Like, if I would be dead serious here, if I watched this in the movies, I would probably hate it more than watching it at home, because I had the time to pause it, go do something else. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad long movie, but it was just like, oh, I can pause it here and I'll go
you're not
feed
going to
my
miss
food
anything.
really quick.
It's also like, I felt that, again, I thought it was pretty boring, so I feel like I could just walk away and come back and not have missed anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And I will say, like, I don't agree. I think that, like, I would have liked to have seen this in theaters just because of how gorgeous it is, and on a big screen it would have looked really good. But I would have felt like I was kind of wasting some time, for sure.
Yeah, like one of the parts that I absolutely love that's in the Letterboxd like little banner here is when she goes to the rock canyons and stuff like that, where she's running around in there. Gorgeous looking.
What did you find in there? Rocks.
I mean, it's great commentary between the two, because it's like, yeah, what would you say there? I would have said rocks as well. And but it's just, I think it goes from scenery to scenery instead of I just want to know why they do it and make me have a personal connection to the main character. And I felt like I was there at some points, but then a lot of the times I was like, okay, I'm more interested in the other people that she is seeing.
Yeah. Kevin, this was your pick this week. Why don't you go ahead and take it away? Your final thoughts and score.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie because of the scenery, the cinematography, and just the overall, not I want to say vibes, but it was just really cool to see a different artsy perspective about a nomad, which I didn't know really anything about, but it didn't give me what I wanted. Like we talked about in here, I wanted to be maybe a documentary about a real nomad that went through this, and maybe that would have intrigued me more and gotten me a little bit more hooked into this movie, but unfortunately it didn't. And it's unfortunately one of the lowest ones I feel like we have watched on our movie club list as well, which is unfortunate, but I still gave it a 78 out of 100. Still really enjoyed it because of all the cinematography and stuff, and I wanted to see what a van life was, and it's not the van life for me. So
yeah, this is more people experiencing homelessness as opposed to like,
mhm.
oh, we bought a van and we're living out of it, you know.
Exactly.
It's not the influencer bullshit. Yeah, but I would say, like, honestly, I was really disappointed by this movie. I thought that, like, it's not a bad movie by any means. I think it's beautifully directed, it's beautifully shot, the dialogue is well written, and Frances McDormand gives a good performance, even though I don't necessarily find a lot to care about her for in this movie. I just think the movie is pretty flat. I think it's pretty boring. I don't think it goes into enough depth or detail on what happened to these people following the recession. It's a little too busy. It's sometimes trying to be a pretty movie as opposed to being something that really cuts deep and shows us what the problem is. And I do think that it is something does feel off about it because we're heading into another recession right now because of the cost of living and everything being so bad. So it does feel a little off to watch this now. Like this is just going to happen again in, maybe a year or two. So, but for me, I gave it a 62 out of 100, which is 3 stars out of 5. Probably the lowest rating I've given on Movie Club to date. Just did not really connect with this movie. Didn't really vibe with it on first viewing. But the question now falls to you. What do you think of Nomadland? Go ahead and leave those comments down in the comment section down below. But remember to be respectful of one another. It's really not that hard. But next week we are concluding our June month-long theme of Venice Film Festival Best Picture winners by taking a look at the 1960s romantic drama Last Year at Marienbad, which I've heard is actually a little bit liminal, like a Backrooms type movie. So we'll have to figure that out. But make sure to watch it next week so you're not spoiled. But thank you so much for watching. We have this video that goes live every single Friday at 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and our live stream, which goes live every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So again, thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, make sure to keep those eyes on the screen.